Welcome back to Rolling Solo. My name is Adam Smith, and look what we have on the table today. It is the Isofarian Guard from Sky Kingdom Games. Now, I am no stranger to this, as I covered this with an overview when the Kickstarter launched, focusing on the combat mechanics as well as the exploration phase and other gameplay elements. However, this overview video is going to have me revisiting some of those things in different setups with different enemies and a revised combat system, as well as some updates around some things that have changed in this particular version. Now, it's also worth mentioning this is still a prototype here. It's a large box, but everything is subject to change. And for those of you that are wondering, there will be absolutely no spoilers regarding the overarching story of the game by watching this overview video. I've done a good job here, hopefully, of keeping those major story elements out of this video so that you're surprised as you play through the narrative of the game yourself. We're going to be diving in Chapter 2.4. We're going to head into the narrative here in a minute so you can understand where we're currently at, and then we're going to continue on from there. It's also worth mentioning that the pledge manager for this one is still open until the end of October, so October 31st it will close. Currently, the price is the same as it was when the Kickstarter originally launched, so late backers can even get in on it for its lower cost, but after October 31st, the base game cost is going to increase to $120, so it is worth contemplating this purchase decision in advance of October 31st, and I really hope that this video helps you do that. Here is the world map for the Isofarian Guard. We have Gregory and Alek, both of them represented here with chips. They're currently on node 97, and that's where we are at this point in the story. We've just finished chapter 2.3, and it does state to go ahead and place a narrative chip on node 83. The narrative event chip has been placed on the world map. In the top left-hand corner, we have the event bag. We'll be drawing this whenever we land on nodes that have the yellow color. You'll also see some orange nodes out there. Those orange nodes represent entrances to the mini-map displays, which you can see two examples of off to the left and to the right, to enter into different cities and environments. And then we have red nodes on the map, and these are locations that you cannot go into or pass through unless the narrative instructs you that you're able to. You'll see on the far east side of the large world map, we have a city here, and inside of that city, we have a side quest token. Now, as you explore through this world, you'll be able to traverse during the exploration phase and head to any node that you want to, but certain nodes will have things that will progress the main narrative story. You'll also have these scroll chips, which represent side quests, which will become available depending on which chapter you're in. On this side of the world map, we have our fort, and as you can see, it is a dual layered board. There are 7 available slots as of right now, based on my progress in the campaign. Actually, a total of 8 if I didn't have the lumber mill constructed, but these are going to provide benefits and the ability for you to pick up certain things in this location that you won't find anywhere else. This is one of the primary reasons why you're going to want to load this thing up and build it out, as it's going to give you access to things you won't find in other locations around the game world. The dynamic marketplace of the game world changes based on where you are, and also, of course, you have an economy going on behind the scenes as well. Now, up in the top right hand corner, you'll see Lux Essence. That currently are some points that I can spend around upgrading abilities on my skill trees for my characters. It's combined between the two characters, and I currently have 14. Just below that, we have Syl. We currently sit at 12 right now. We can use this in order to purchase things within the game world to bolster our characters. Now, a very cool aspect of the Isofarian Guard is the fact that even though you have a narrative, a major narrative happening in the game, which will be progressed as you see the narrative event chip move throughout the land, you can go and interact with this right away if you'd like, or you could potentially take on side quests, as you saw an example one in the city earlier, but you also don't have to do either of those things. The game world is open-ended. You can go to any yellow and orange node freely and explore those areas whenever you choose to do so. And of course, if the narrative instructs you, you can interact with red ones, red nodes, or traverse through them, then you can do that as well, opening up other areas of the map for you to explore. Lots to see and do in this world. Currently, Gregory and Alek are both represented by chips at node 97. On the road, we are going to traverse down the road heading north to node 90. When we land on a yellow node, in this case node 90, we're going to go into the event bag and we're going to pull out an event chip, and it's going to be one of these 5 that you can see in the bottom right. There are 2 black compass chips here, and we also have 3 black skull chips of varying amounts. We have 1, 2, and 3. When we draw from the bag, if we happen to get a compass, it means it's an open road, which means there's no battle at that node, or the player can choose any of the 3 encounters available on that node location if they wish. So it gives the players the ability to have freedom to potentially go after particular enemies based on maybe potentially trying to get some type of resource or something out of them that might progress them in a positive way. So what are the 3 things that we could potentially choose from if we pulled the compass chip from the event bag? Well, they're listed out in the enemy index, which is based on the chapter you're in as well as the node you're on. So I'm in chapter 2, I'm on node 90, so I'm down in row 4. You'll see there that there is swords crossed with 2 stars, states Plane Strider in red, and a 1 beside it. So that means with the 2 swords crossed and the text in red, that means it's going to be an ambush, which means the enemy gets to go first and basically attack me, and then we go into a standard round of combat from there on, which is nasty because they get the upper hand on you. The other option there is 2 Timberwolves and a Falman Scout, and they're both at 2 stars. And the other option beyond that is the Strider at 2 stars, and there's 1 of those. So those are my 3 options. So if I happen to pull the compass chip, I could choose whichever one of those 3 I want, depending on what I'm trying to go after or what rewards I want. And again, if you pull from the event bag one of the 3 skulls, it's a little more simplistic, as each of the columns here on the enemy index are representative of those particular skulls based on the number of them, and you'll know exactly what you're going up against based on the node you landed on. So with all of the chips back in the bag, we're going to shuffle them around a little bit and pull one out, and we have a single skull. So that is going to be a Plane Strider ambushing us at a 2-star level, and there's just 1 of them. And just like that, we are all set up for battle with this Plane Strider. We have a 2-star Plane Strider sitting on the enemy dashboard here with a deck in the middle. We also have its stats, and the stats here are set based on the card itself. You'll see the attack is set to 3, defense is set to 2. In terms of action cubes, I've got 2 of them in the ready area, the exhaust area is to the right, and of course in the top right there we have a discard area for the AI cards as they're actually used, and then health is set to 10. Our heroes are also ready to go. Gregory has 20 HP, as you can see in the top right hand corner, 3 attack, 2 defense, and 2 translucent AP cubes in the ready position, exhaust just down below. On the left hand side we have the loadout for the character at this point in time for chapter 2. He has a Volk Blade, he has a bear tunic, he has the goat skull mask, and also a health potion. Down below we have all of Gregory's abilities to date in the playthrough. We have Guard here, Feint, and Advance. In the top right hand corner of each of those cards you'll see a P, which stands for primary. You want to make sure that these ability cards are on their primary card to start a battle. Down below we have in a slot Cross Slash. This is a speaking stone, and this speaking stone can be used by using the gem or stone down in the lower position there in the ready side on the left hand side. Exhausted is on the right, and you'll see how this works when we get into combat. Here's a look at Alek's loadout. He has 20 HP, 2 for attack, 1 for defense. He has an alloy short sword, he has a reinforced tunic, and a health potion along with his base 2 AP. Alek has a number of potions that he can make use of. He can also mix and combine potions together to create more powerful ones using his combine ability down the bottom right. He also has a speaking stone, which is currently active based on the gem. And last but not least, we have the aggro chip, which is currently sitting on nobody yet, but will be placed on one of our 2 characters as we go through combat. Now, we're going to start things off with the Plane Strider because, as you remember from the enemy index, it was in red, it had the cross swords, which means we're being ambushed. So the enemy is going to get basically a free turn before we actually dive into the typical rounds of combat here. So we're going to go ahead and flip over one of the cards for the Planestrider and see what it's about to do to us. The card states, choose target self, sprint for 1 AP, gaining evasion, and then draw another card. This is pretty nasty and an ability that the Planestrider certainly has in its back pocket to be slightly painful to try and put hits against. 1 AP has been spent for this enemy. The evasion chip is now on this enemy, and we're going to go ahead and draw another card. This card states the highest AP, which currently both of our characters have 2, so we'll skip past that. Now it goes to the aggro chip, which currently hasn't been set for either of our characters just yet. Now there is an official time frame during a typical round that happens, but because this is an ambush out of the gates, the enemy's going first, so we can choose which of our 2 characters is going to have that aggro chip to start. I've gone ahead and placed the aggro chip on Alek, and next up it says to attack target with a tail lash, which will cost 1 AP, adding 1 attack modification, so an additional 1 onto the 3 it already has, making it an attack of 4 going up against poor Alek, and on top of it, it's going to exhaust 1 of Alek's AP out of the gates. We know that the attack value coming to Alek was 4, and Alek's defense currently is at 1, so 3 damage, bringing him from 20 down to 17, and you can also see I exhausted 1 AP as well. That ended up being a pretty painful attack against Alek for being the target here, not only taking some health damage, but also impacting his ability to draw chips on his upcoming turn, as he's now going to be reduced from drawing 2 chips to just 1 based on his AP. With the enemy's ambush now over with, we're going to go ahead and refresh all the exhausted AP for this enemy. Finally, we move through the cleanup phase. There's nothing else to do inside of this currently based on things set up. And now we're going to move into a typical combat round as if nothing had ambushed us. So it's going to always start with a character's turn. So both characters in this case are going to get to go. I can choose who goes first, and then the enemy is going to go ahead and go, and then the cleanup phase after that. It's worth noting that when we got the single skull from the event bag earlier, it does tell us we're going up against this 2-star Planestrider. It was in red with the double cross swords, which is an ambush. And I wanted to make mention of the fact that when you're ambushed by an actual creature, due to getting that particular skull token that tells you you're about to get ambushed, when you go into that combat, you are not able to retreat. So in this case, even if I didn't like what was going on here, I wouldn't be able to get out of this situation. I have to deal with it. Now, if I had have actually gotten, let's say, a 2-skull black chip from the event bag, you'll remember that there was 2 different types of enemies, but neither were red or had the cross swords icon on them, which means I could actually go through this procedure if I wanted to retreat away from them. Now, just before we go into our very first full standard combat round, I want to talk about a major aspect of the Isofarian Guard, and that's around the bag building. And this is a huge thing inside of the combat. I want to let you know what chips are currently in Alek's bag and why. I've gone ahead and pulled out my weapon as well as my armor from the 2 slots they were in. Underneath of them and attached to them were some stones. We have the Obsidian Darkstone and the Adamant Firestone, each of them connected to one of these pieces of equipment. And as you go through your campaign, you'll find weapons and armor that will have slots available for you to click these stones into. When you flip over the armor or weapon, you're going to see some black circles, and that's going to let you know how many slots you have available on that given item in order to slot stones into them that will then give you bonus chips that will go into your bag. So for Alek here, he has a purple sword and shield and a black double shield. These 2 chips will end up in the bag, and you'll notice the attack value for Alek is at 2 based on the red cube, and shield is at 1. That means we're going to be also placing 1 black shield chip in the bag and 2 black sword chips. These are currently all of the chips that come from the board for Alek. They'll all be placed into his bag, but we also have a couple chips that we've gained through upgrading on the character skill tree as we journey through Chapter 1 and into Chapter 2, where we're now getting close to interacting to Chapter 2.4. Here is a look at Alek's skill tree as well as the cost for each of the different points along it. When you begin the game, you'll start at the very bottom there where it states reinforcement. I have this card already slotted into his board, and that's where things began. From there, spending Lux will upgrade and unlock different potential along the skill tree. In this case, I chose, rather than going left for the swords, I went right for the shields, and so at each spot as I spent the Lux and unlocked those, I gained shield chips that end up going into his bag. So I have 2 more shield chips, individual ones that will be going into his bag, and we are butting up against the very first major character unlock at 2. Here is a look at all of the chips that are in Alek's bag to start out the combat here, and I wanted to show this you understood where they came from and also what's currently in his bag as I begin to draw them out. Now let's go ahead and check out Gregory and see what he's got in his bag. Gregory here in the top left has the Volk Blade for a weapon and the Bear Tunic, both with slots available to have stones in them. He has a Garnet attached to his Volk Blade and an Adamant attached to his Bear Tunic. Looking at the opposite side of both of the stones attached to the different pieces of equipment, we have a double sword, a double shield, and then looking at his base statistics, we've got 3 for attack, 2 for defense, so 3 sword chips and 2 shield chips. These are going to make up Gregory's bag, but we also have some unlocks coming from his skill tree as well. Here is Gregory's skill tree and the costs associated for each of the different spots along that tree. We start here with Cross Slash at the very bottom, which I already have on his board, and it's a Speaking Stone, which I have access to. And in terms of what I've unlocked already going through the campaign to where I am in Chapter 2, I've unlocked 2 sword chips going along the right-hand side. This is currently what Gregory has inside of his bag. So now that you understand what's in both of the bags for both of the characters, let's begin a start of round in combat with the characters. I'm going to decide to go ahead and begin with Alek. For those curious on the flow of a character's turn in terms of the steps, we have 8 steps here, but it's worth mentioning not all the steps are always going to apply. However, you're going to want to still go through these 1 through 8 to ensure you didn't miss anything, but you will have particular character turns that may only touch on a number of these. So we're going to start at the very top with number 1. It says to check equipped accessories for bonuses and trigger effects of the accessories if available. We don't have any, so we'll pass through that. Number 2 here is discard any active evasion chips and blue cubes on characters. Again, we can skip past this as well. 3 says to choose a character to activate. As I mentioned already, I've activated Alek first, so he will be going first. And that moves us into step 4, which has us, if the bag is empty, we walk through some steps in order to get the bag refilled. We know we're starting off at the beginning of combat, so that's not a thing. We're going to instead be drawing chips right now 1 at a time from the character's bag equal to their AP points. Alek currently only has 1, remember, because one of them was exhausted by the Plane Strider. Digging into the bag for Alek, we'll draw out 1 chip and see what we get. We have a shield chip. So Alek has 1 AP to spend and 1 shield chip. So if we take a look across the different cards here, you'll see requirements right in the middle. It will tell you what type of chip to be used, how many of them, as well as how many AP points need to be spent in order to activate that particular ability. So in this case, I could go ahead and activate that blue elixir, as I do have an AP point and I do have a shield. That's one option. Looking around at the other ones that have requirements, I could also do a combine action here, that ability that could be really handy because it would allow me to trigger an empower effect on one of my cards, which there are an empower effect on every single one of the 4 potions here at the very bottom, giving me lots and lots of opportunity to do things. I also have a Speaking Stone here, which has a stone in the ready position, meaning I can go ahead and use this effect if I want to activate it as well. And if I happen to have had a sword chip, which I don't right now, I could have placed that chip up on the alloy short sword in order to just do a generic attack. So even though I was limited to just pulling out 1 chip, it ended up being a worthwhile move here to place this on combine because I'm able to now trigger this empower ability here. So ally gains 1 green AP. I'm going to choose, obviously, my other ally here in this case is Gregory. He's going to get that AP, bumping him up to 3. So when his turn comes around, he's going to get to draw 3 chips from the bag and have the additional AP to spend as well. The green AP has been added to his pool. Now at this point, I don't have any more chips to use, I don't have any more AP to spend with Alek, so really I only have one more option if I want to do it, and that is to use the Speaking Stone, which is down at the bottom there, Reinforcement. I could potentially do this, but I have to remember the fact that the Plane Strider currently has evasion, so if I make this attack, the attack is going to be a miss, which will remove the evasion chip, which is good because this particular enemy does make use of the evasion chip being on it. It has other AI cards that can potentially come up and really trigger some nasty hits, but even more so common is the fact that it's just difficult to hit the thing if it's evading you. So I could use Alek's Speaking Stone here as a wash to essentially get rid of that evasion chip off of Strider, so then I can go ahead and actually have Gregory make some decent hits against it. I'll do this in this case as I also get an additional benefit from this Speaking Stone. It says while active I get +1 on my defense. So it means my defense is actually going to go from a 1 to a 2. To remind myself that my defense has gone up, I placed a blue cube in the 2 position on the track at the top. The attack that does come from the Speaking Stone, regardless of what number of damage it could potentially do, is a complete miss, so the evasion chip is now removed from the Plane Strider. It is now Gregory's turn to go. He has 3 AP thanks to that 1 boost from Alek. He's going to go into his bag and draw 3 chips out. We'll see what we get and what options we potentially have. We have 1 sword here. We have a shield and finally another sword. Taking a look at Gregory's loadout here, he does have a Speaking Stone down below, which is ready to go if I want to use it. I do have my typical basic weapon, which is just off screen up north there. I can place one of my sword chips on it to do a basic attack for my attack value, which currently is at 3. But I also have all these ability cards I can use, and Gregory has a really cool ability of chaining. So if I was to go ahead right now and use one of the chips on one of the cards here by spending an AP for one of them, I would gain whatever's on the top section of it, but wherever I see the word chain in brackets, that is only going to trigger from every second active ability and onwards. So you have to kind of activate one of the abilities, and then when you activate the second one, you not only get the basic ability on the card, you also get the chained ability as well. So you can really start ramping him up pretty aggressively if you have a bunch of AP and chips to use. I'm going to go ahead and spend 1 AP. As you can see, it's moved down into the exhausted area, the green one there. And then on the guard ability card, I've placed a single shield chip. That covers the 2 requirements that are mentioned here. And now we gain the benefits from the card. It says, while active, +1 shield, which is our defense. So our defense is going to go at the very top there. You can see our shield's at 2. It's going to move to 3. So while active, I now have that additional defense, which is fantastic. Down below, it says add 1 of the shield, green shield chips to Gregory's bag. So you can see just using the abilities on the cards themselves are going to start building out your bag as you go through combat as well. So this chip will now be added into Gregory's bag. And as you can see on the card, there's also the chain ability, but I'm not going to get that because I didn't have a prior ability activated. So let's go ahead and do that right now. I've spent 1 AP. I'm going to go ahead and use the card or ability Advance, paid the requirements, and it states to add 1 sword green chip to Gregory's bag. So I'll go ahead and do that. This one will be placed in his bag. And the chain will now activate, which will place another sword chip into his bag. Next up, I'm going to activate his Speaking Stone Cross Slash. It's going to allow me to attack all enemies for a +1 on top of my attack. My attack's currently a 3. It's going to make it a 4. And if there was multiple enemies, I'd be hitting all of them. But in this case, there's just 1. But a 4 attack is pretty solid. Let's take a look at the defense of this enemy. With his evasion no longer a problem, as the chip was dismissed earlier thanks to Alek throwing an attack and basically making it a wash, this damage can now go through. So our total attack of 4 goes up against the defense of 2. 2 damage getting through, dropping it from 10 down to 8. Just like that, we have taken off a chunk of its health, and Gregory isn't finished with it just yet. Gregory's going to use his last sword chip in order to activate his regular attack, which is a standard 3 attack against 2 defense for 1 more damage. So overall, not bad at all. We knocked it from 10 down to 7, and that's going to do it for both of the characters at this point. Now we move into refreshing both of their AP. It's important not to miss this because there are AI cards that can come out of the equation from enemies that can actually exhaust the character's AP, and we saw an example of this earlier on with Alek, so don't forget this at this stage. Both characters' AP has now been reset. You can see an example of that there in the top left with Gregory, all 3 AP at the top. Same with Alek off screen to the right. And the next thing we're going to do is change where the aggro token is sitting. The aggro token at this point is going to go to the character that last attacked the enemy. So it's going to come off of Alek and go to Gregory. Just like that, the characters have finished their turns. We now move to the enemy's turn, which is the Plane Strider. We're going to go ahead and pull an AI card and see what happens. But just before we do this, the enemy's turn has a number of steps to go through, which I'll show you on the reference card. As I mentioned with the character's turn, not every single step will always apply, but it's always worth looking through these steps to ensure you don't miss something. So the very first thing on the enemy's turn is to discard any green evasion chips. So for instance, if Alek had not actually attacked the Plane Strider at all, and Gregory didn't attack the Plane Strider at all, the evasion chip would still be on it, and at this point it would come off. The second one here says to activate the enemy in slot 1. Well, that step's really easy here because we only have one enemy, but if we had multiple, you'd start with slot 1 and go from there. The third one here says to draw the AI card, and then it runs into what you saw when the enemy did its ambush on me. This AI card states to choose target with the lowest health, so unfortunately that's going to be Alek, as he's the only one who's been hit so far and is at 17 health. And then next it says to attack the target with a quick strike using 1 AP with a +2 modification to its attack. That's pretty nasty. So the base of 3 is going to increase to 5, and Alek thankfully put a little bit of defense on himself last round. Remember, we put that blue cube, which bumped him up from a 1 to a 2 in defense, but still a solid hit coming through from the Plane Strider. 5 minus 2 is 3, so 3 more damage going on to Alek, dropping him down to 14. So far, Alek has been taking the brunt of these attacks. And we're not quite done yet. If you look underneath of the quick strike, it says to repeat the quick strike until AP is exhausted. So this is where things can get really nasty. And remember, just like you can add AP through game mechanics for the characters, the AI can actually gain more AP over time. It's not happening right now, but you can just imagine how nasty this quick strike could be if it had 4 or 5 AP built up into it. It could really hammer away at one of the heroes. In this case, it will get 1 extra attack, which will exhaust its last AP, and again, poor Alek is going to take another 3 damage. That was pretty nasty. Almost half his health is gone already. We're now done the enemy's turn, and at this point, we're going to go ahead and refresh the AP back to the ready position. Now it's time to move into the cleanup phase for the end of the first full round of play here. So you'll have almost seen everything that encompasses a full round of combat. Again, separate from the original ambush that came from the Plane Strider at the very beginning. I'll show you the reference card for the cleanup phase, and then we'll walk through those steps. For those interested, you can see the cleanup phase down there at the bottom. There's 4 steps. The first step we can ignore as it will not apply this time. Again, as I mentioned with the other sections, not every time everything will apply, but make sure to check each of them. We're going to head into step number 2, where we need to discard chips from the character ability cards and weapons. Cleanup is very straightforward. Basically, all black chips and purple chips are going to go to your discard area, which is right here. So the chip on guard, the chip that's on advance, and the chip that's on the sword will all end up there. Now, while cleaning up these chips off the ability cards, it's important to note if the card has a specific icon in the top left-hand corner, those cards are going to flip over. You can see for guard and feint as well as advance, they all have that icon in the top left-hand corner, but the only 2 I activated last time around was guard and advance, so those are the only 2 that will be flipping over to the other side. A guard turns into take cover, and an advance turns into a critical strike. You'll also notice in the top right hand corner, it went from being on its primary side to its secondary side, and this is going to continue to flip back and forth every time you activate it. So you'll be able to strategize on setting yourself up for some powerful attacks, the critical strike being one of them, or potentially taking cover, as you can see on the far left, and being able to chain away to gain AP on Gregory. At this point, any positive and negative chips that are sitting in this area right here, positive is pointing up, negative pointing down, they're going to go back to the supply at this point. We don't have any currently, but don't worry, you will see that in action a little later on. Finally, any gems that are placed on the speaking stones themselves are going to be placed in the exhausted slot that matches the slot Roman numeral that it's in. So for instance, in this case, my speaking stone cross slash is in slot number 4. So I've placed the gem in the track down below on the right hand side, which is the exhausted side in black, in the 4th slot. This is all part of a cooldown mechanic that will eventually, around the next time we do cleanup, move this gem from the exhausted side over to the ready side to be used again in the future. So this provides a 1-round delay in between. The exact same cleanup is done for Alek. I've already gone ahead and done everything. It's worth mentioning as well as every character is different in terms of how they operate. So you'll notice that on the potions for Alek in the top left-hand corner, there are no icons letting you know to flip over those potions in terms of how Gregory operates once he goes ahead and removes those chips. So on Alek's side of the equation, he's only going to flip over his potions when he actually activates and uses his combined ability for one of its options, which allows you to actually flip a non-active card over when you have 2 other potions active. So basically, you're activating 2 potions in order to flip over another potion, combining the potions together, making them more powerful, and then gaining more abilities out of that as well to use in the future. So I'm going to aim to try and show you that as well. Now we're ready to move into the start of the next round. So we start at the very top here. We don't have any accessories we need to trigger for bonuses, but we do happen to have some blue cubes on characters, and at this point they are going to be removed. If we happen to have any evasion chips on either of our characters, we would also be getting rid of those right now as well, but we don't. And in terms of choosing which character I want to activate, I'm happy to do Alek again, being that he can support Gregory so well, and now he actually has his 2 AP, so he'll be able to draw 2 out of his bag. Let's see what we get out of the bag here. We'll go ahead and pull the first one, and we have a double shield. That's a pretty good one to get. And the second one is another shield. Now remember, as I alluded to before, if we happen to have 2 shields, we can always use it as a single sword. So that really does open up a lot more possibilities now. Now, most of you probably picked up on the fact that in order to use the combined ability, not only do I have to place a shield chip on it and pay the AP, but I also have to have activated 2 other potions, which means in total, I'm going to need to have placed 3 chips on the table. Well, I'm only drawing 2 chips currently, so that's not going to cut it. If I want to build myself up to a point where I can start combining potions and flipping them over to more powerful abilities, then I need to get more AP. So how do I do this? Well, the golden potion up here allows me to gain an AP if I go ahead and spend a sword and a shield. I have a shield, I have 2 more shields, and I can change those to be used for 1 sword. So I have everything I need in order to activate the golden potion. And that's exactly what I'm going to do to set up a better turn or turns in the future for Alek by adding that additional AP in there. I've paid my costs. I still now have 2 AP to spend, but nothing else to spend them on because I have no chips to use. And I also have an exhausted speaking stone currently, which will come back shortly, but as of right now, that's everything I can do with Alek. Now, I am keeping an eye on his health, realizing the fact I do still have a potion. I could technically go ahead and use this right now to heal up 5. Might be a good idea. I don't think that the Plane Strider is going to hit him for 11 damage and take him out, so I'm going to hold off right now, but if Alek starts taking more damage, I'm going to be consuming that potion. Heading over here to Gregory, I'm going to go ahead and shuffle his bag up. We're going to be grabbing 3 chips out of the bag. Let's see what we got. We have a double shield chip, we have a sword chip, and we have Ooh, a green chip. Now this is perfect because I can explain to you that green chips don't count towards the number of chips you're able to draw based on your AP. So in other words, and the same goes for other colored chips as well, only black chips count towards this. So when I have 3 AP, no matter if they're white or green colored, that doesn't matter. I have 3 AP, I can have to keep drawing until I draw 3 black chips total. So we're gonna go back in the bag, draw another one out, and we got ourselves a double sword. So as you can likely tell, the more chips you're drawing from your bag, the more AP you have available, the more you can do, which then of course opens up more strategic options around for Gregory, which chains he wants to activate and in which order, and all that kind of stuff comes into play. It's really interesting. I'm going to go ahead and activate Critical Strike with a 2 sword chip, and I've also paid my 2 AP, attacking one enemy for a +2 attack modifier. I have 3 right now, +2 is 5. I don't get the chain off this. The defense of this Strider is 2, so 3 damage going through, bringing it from 7 down to 4. Not bad, not bad at all. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to activate Feint. Feint has been activated with a shield and a sword. The AP's been paid. I get to add a red negative break chip to the enemy. This is going to break down its defense. Now, what's awesome about the timing of this and setting it up the way I did is because I knew by putting the break chip on the enemy, it's going to reduce its defense, but I'm also going to be able to activate the chain ability off of Feint to attack one enemy at a standard amount, whatever it is. It just says +0 there on the icon, so that basically just means my typical attack value, which is 3, but now the enemy just got impacted on its defense. It's now at 1, so my 3 attack is going to actually do 2 damage to it, bringing it down to 2. And just based on the chip that I got at the very end there, the double shield, I'm going to use that as a single sword for a basic attack using my Volk blade in the top left. That's going to be another 3 damage attack, and thanks again to the break chip on the enemy, 2 is going to get through, which is exactly enough to take out the Plane Strider. When an enemy is defeated, you're going to flip it over to see exactly what rewards you're going to gain. In this case, I'm getting 6 Lux Essence and 1 Rough Leather. Thanks to Gregory's actions, Alek didn't even need to use his combined. He was so close to using it. Don't worry, there's going to be more opportunities for Alek to make use of that in the future. Here are the rewards that we've gained. We have a 2-star rough leather with a 1 in the bottom right, and then we have the Lux Essence, currently at 14, is going to be raised up to 20. At this point, we're going to go ahead and slot the rough leather into one of the backpacks of our characters and also do some cleanup of their actual boards as well as their ability cards. In terms of cleanup, at the end of a battle, all your green AP that you gain during the battle is going to be removed. Also, any green chips that are on ability cards at this point are going to go back to the supply. Any black chips that are sitting out are going to go to the discard area, and then all the black chips sitting in the discard area are going to go back into your bag. It's important to note that anything that you have in your bag already, in terms of green chips, for example, are going to stay in there. You're not going to take those out, as this bag building is perpetual, not only through combat, but also in between all these different adventures and interactions you're going to have within the game world. The next thing we need to do is flip over all of our ability cards back to our primary side. Cards have all been reset, AP has been set, and also our Speaking Stone is now ready again. The aggro token can come off of the character it was attached to. We'll also now clean up Alek. Same mindset over here, except we won't be flipping anything card-wise as everything's already on the primary side here for Alek, but those black chips will go back into his bag. The green AP he gained will be discarded and go back to the pool. Alek's AP has also been set back to the ready position, and the Speaking Stone is also ready. So that was a pretty awesome encounter. We were able to take out that Strider. Gregory did a fantastic job of throwing a whole bunch of attacks all in one single turn, which was quite amazing. And on top of it, we've cleaned everything up now. We've also gained our rewards out of that encounter and combat. And now we're back into the exploration phase, but I want to focus on the Lux aspect right now of the total amount I've got between my characters and potentially spending that right now during during exploration to maybe bolster Gregory even further. Taking a look at the skill tree for our hero here, we have Cross Slash. We've already opened up and unlocked those 2 chips into our bag. Now I want to go ahead and unlock this one right here, Roman numeral number 2. We take a look on the right-hand side. We can see because we're in chapter number 2, we do have access to this. For 20 Lux, we can actually unlock it. So let's spend our Lux down to 0 and gain a card called Adjust Stance. As you can see, this particular card is going to come in really handy. The top ability states to flip one non-active card, which is certainly going to allow you to set yourself up some pretty cool combinations and, again, more strategy options. And then down below, if you happen to chain into it, you're also going to gain 1 AP, another way for Gregory to get even more powerful. So this is how his loadout will currently look in terms of his ability cards. I'm going to flip over the Adjust Stance. You can see the secondary side as well. Parry is what the secondary side of the card states. It's a 2-sword, 2 AP requirement, gains evasion. An evasion chip gets put on the character, which is pretty awesome. And then if you chain into it, it's going to add 1 bolster chip to the ally's bag, which will beef up defenses. So looking at the world map here, we want to progress during this exploration phase towards the next narrative event here, which you can see is noted by the black book chip on the game board. And we're going to head towards that right now, which is the Golden Scythe Manor, and it's going to trigger narrative that's going to come from the Forteller app. So let's check that out right now.
Walking the road to Mir with the captain is almost idyllic. The sun is up, and the wheat fields are swaying in a gentle breeze.
You see all this farmland, Captain? This is Golden Scythe territory.
Golden Scythe? What's that?
Not a what, a who. Or rather, a bunch of who's. It's one of the farming guilds Dunamis spoke of. We've been walking through Golden Scythe lands for the last couple of hours. You've really never heard of them?
Now that you mention it, maybe. I'm originally from Silmi, and most of my command has kept me in the north, so I've never familiarized myself much with the politics surrounding Mir.
Growing up, that's all I ever heard. I grew up northeast of Mir, in a village so small it doesn't even have a name. My family are Broken Plow people.
Broken Plow? That's another guild?
Yes, and to hear them tell it, the only real farmers in Isofar. You see, us Broken Plow people pride ourselves in growing stuff where stuff isn't supposed to grow. We break our backs day after day fighting against rocky soil and shorter growing seasons, while those Golden Scythe folks have their crops hand-delivered to them by Uvidat himself.
Grigory raises his eyebrows at you.
And you believe all that?
No, but I've heard enough drunk farmers blustering about Broken Plow pride to last me a lifetime. Part of the reason I joined the Guard was to get away from it all. I always thought there was more jealousy than pride in their talk. Now that I'm seeing these crops, I can tell you that the jealousy wasn't misplaced.
Grigory smiles along with you.
I think the Guard was a good choice for you. I can't quite picture you as a farmer.
You or my parents. I think they're secretly relieved I didn't stay on.
You round a bend in the road, and there before you sits an immaculate manor house resting in the shade of 2 great oak trees. Behind the manor are several large barns and granaries. You imagine that such an estate would be buzzing with activity, but it is suspiciously quiet. Come to think of it, there were no workers in the fields either. Something isn't right. You look at Grigory and see that he has come to the same realization. Before you take another step, 2 men step out of the fields and block the road. They wear Golden Scythe colors over armor consisting of little more than padded shirts, but their spears seem sharp enough.
Who are you? What is your business here?
I now have a choice to make during this narrative. I have to choose a path, either option A or option B. Option A states, explain that you were just passing through, and option B is to defend yourself. Now, I've thought about this, and I think I'm going to go down the path of defending myself, so option B.
You draw your sword and point it at the leader.
You gave up your right to ask questions the moment you leveled that spear at us.
Well, if you won't talk, let's see how well you can fight.
The narrative now states, as a combat event, to place 2-star Golden Scythe Soldier and AI deck on an enemy dashboard in slot 1 and slot 2 of the battlefield and begin the combat phase. We are all set up for battle against the 2 soldiers. Our 2 heroes are ready to go, and we can decide now which of the heroes is going to start things off for our first round of combat. And thankfully, this time around, we're not being ambushed, so the enemies don't get to go first, but there are 2 of them, which should make this battle quite a bit more difficult and more interesting, as these soldiers are going to be essentially helping each other out as they go through their AI deck, and we're going to be working to try and weed their health from 10 down to 0 on both of them. So we'll start with Alek here. Digging into Alek's bag here, we're going to see what we have. We get to draw 2 chips. The first one out of the bag is a sword, and the second is going to be a double shield. Right out of the gate, I'm going to go ahead and use both of those chips to pay the cost of a shield and a sword, as well as 1 action point in order to activate the golden potion, which will give Alek an additional green AP, something that he wasn't able to pull off as early in the prior battle, but I want to get him going as quick as possible. Alek is currently out of chips, and we do have some AP, but we can't spend it on anything at the moment. We do have the Speaking Stone down below, which we could activate. It states it would allow us to attack 1 enemy for an additional attack modification of 1, so that would bring us up to a 3. It's worth noting that these individuals we're going up against have a defense of 2, so we might actually want to do this, unless, of course, we might want to wait for a window where we've reduced how much defense they have in order to make this hit more productive. But the bonus here is that it would actually give us the ability to boost our own defenses on Alek by 1, which I think I'm going to take advantage of. So let's go ahead and activate the Speaking Stone. The Speaking Stone is activated. Defenses have been bumped up for Alek. We're making a 3 attack against a 2 defense slot 1 soldier here, and that's going to be 1 damage going through, dropping it from 10 down to 9. We're all done with Alek. Let's move over to Gregory and see if we can put some more damage on as quick as possible here. We get 2 chips out of the bag. The first one coming out is a shield, and the second one out of the bag is another shield. Actually, this works out really, really well. I'm going to go ahead and activate Guard and then activate Adjust Stance. As you can see at the very top of the screen, our defenses have gone up by 1 while the Guard card ability is active, and also I get to add 1 green shield chip to Gregory's bag as well, which is a nice plus. Adjust Stance is pretty cool because you just need to use the chip. There's no AP requirement whatsoever, so I've placed the chip there to activate it. It says to flip 1 non-active card. I'm going to go ahead and flip over Advance. And I want to do this because I want to set myself up to do a critical strike in the near future. The other awesome benefit of Adjust Stance is that I can now get the chain ability off of it, which is to gain 1 AP, and I've placed that up there as well. And Critical Strike, as you can see, is face up now. So, with all that said, no more AP I can spend here as I've run out of chips to tie it in with, but I can potentially use my Speaking Stone, which I probably want to do because as of right now, Alek is the only individual who's attacked an enemy, so he will by default get the aggro token if I don't get Gregory to make a hit, because it's whoever's last at the end of the character's turn that gets that aggro token, and I'd rather have Gregory get it than Alek, just strictly because Gregory went into this fight with 20 and Alek only has 11. Now I still have my health potion, so I'm not too concerned, but let's get some more of the attacks focused on Gregory instead, as he also has a better defense rating right now. What's even cooler about this is the fact that Cross Slash says that you can attack all enemies for an attack modifier of 1 on top of what I already have, which is 3, so it's 4, and it's going up against both of the enemies in play. So an attack of 4 coming up against each of the soldiers. Their defenses are at 2, so 2 damage getting through on each of them. Pretty happy with that, and we are now done with both characters at this point. I'm going to go ahead and refresh AP for both of them, and then we're going to move the aggro chip to Gregory. Not bad at all. A couple decent hits against these guys out of the gates, but it's now time for them to come back at us. So at this point, we don't have to worry about discarding any green evasions off them or any blue cubes they may have. We skip past this, and we're going to activate slot 1 first, which is the bottom soldier. The AI card states it's going after the highest attack value, which is Gregory in this case at a 3 over Alek, which has a 2, and it's a disarming swipe, which is going to be going up against Gregory. 2 AP will be used from the soldier to do this attack. It's going to add 2 to its attack value, so it's going to go from a 3 up to a 5. Gregory thankfully boosted his defense up to a 3, so 2 damage coming through on Gregory, dropping him from 20 down to 18. And then on top of it, something's going in his bag. And that something is a weakened chip. This is not going to be good. It's a negative effect that's going to go into my bag, and when it comes out, it's going to give me a -1 to my attack until the end of the round. Slot 2 is now going to activate. It says choose target all allies, so it's going to choose its target being the slot 1 soldier. It's going to encourage that soldier, and then it's going to gain 1 AP. It's worth mentioning as well, I should have gone ahead and exhausted the 2 AP that I had down here to do the disarming swipe, but I had enough AP to do it. I've moved them over, and the AI card above that just did an encourage 1, that has been expended by the soldier up top in slot 2 in order to gain an AP on slot 1's soldier. So they're really helping each other out quite a bit, and you're going to see this AI card I just pulled on the slot 2 soldier really can get quite nasty if the individual has enough AP to pull it off. Next up in line, it says to choose a target, which is self and all allies, and it says Tactics of the Guild. Now you have to spend 2 AP in order to do this. If you don't have the AP to spend to trigger this particular section, then it doesn't happen, which means the turn's going to end. But you can see that once this individual has the ability to spend the AP to use Tactics of the Guild, it's going to really help the other individual out and themselves by boosting up their defense, which is going to be very troublesome for our heroes to deal with, but we do have a couple ways to work around this. The enemy's turns, both of them are now complete, all the AP is now refreshed, and we move into the cleanup phase. Gregory is going to go ahead and take both of his black chips, place them in the discarded area. He's going to take the gem on the speaking stone and place that in Roman numeral number 4 on the exhausted side of his track in the black area. And then the final thing is the guard ability and the adjust stance ability are going to flip over to their secondary side. That's going to do it for him. Let's move over to Alek. Alek will have his 2 black chips go into the discarded area. He's also going to have his gem sitting on the speaking stone go into the exhausted area for Roman numeral number 4. Alek is also squared away. Let's begin the next round of combat. At this point, Alek loses his bonus on defense as well as Gregory. Both of them have been removed, and now we're going to move into activating Alek and pulling a number of chips equal to his AP, which is 3. Inside the bag, Alek pulls out a purple chip, which is a sword and a shield. That's going to certainly come in handy. Another sword, which is also going to come in handy, and a shield. We've got some options. The first thing I'm going to do with Alek is place a sword as well as spend an AP to use his Crimson Tonic. He's going to add 1 green health chip to his own bag as he is the weakest right now on the health track. So this chip right here is going in the bag. Next up, I'm going to activate the Golden Potion. I've already spent the 1 AP. I've placed the purple chip there. That fulfills the requirements, and what's absolutely awesome about this is that Alek gets to gain another AP. Now, the Empower ability that's there could give Gregory another AP, which would be pretty awesome, but I might want to go ahead and convert or combine one of these potions, and I'll have that decision to make when I make my next move with my next chip. But for now, let's go ahead and give Alek 1 green AP. Alek is now up to a total of 4, but 2 green AP remaining. I'm placing another chip down here on Combine. I'm going to have to pay the AP requirement in order to trigger this as well, dropping 1 down. And as you can see at the bottom of this card, we have 2 options. we can either choose to trigger the Empower effect of one of the cards that we have, so just the Empower effect, and there's again a number of them across the board here, so I could try to give Gregory even more AP, but what I'd rather do now that I've got things set up right now is do something I was trying to do in the prior battle, which is combine some potions together. So we have 2 active potions as 2 chips are on 2 individual potions, and we're going to be allowed right now to flip a non-active potion to its opposite side. I'm going to flip over this one right here. We have created Amber Essence. You'll see the requirements for this one to trigger it are quite steep, but the benefits are really good. It has the ability to add 2 of the -1 weaken chips that are red to an enemy. So that's really helpful to knock down what it can do in terms of punching out damage against us. And then down below, if we trigger the Empower side of things on this potion, you can convert any green chip to any other green chip. So at this point, we're all done with Alek. I have 1 AP remaining, but I have no more chips to spend. We'll stop right here. Our Speaking Stone is still exhausted. We're going to move over to Gregory and see what he can pull off. Gregory's going to be pulling 3 from the bag this turn. Let's go ahead and find out what we get. Oh, that's not good. That's a weaken. That's going to go and hurt his ability to make attacks. Next up, we have a sword. And remember, red, green, anything like that coming out of the bag don't count towards the number of chips that you get based on your AP. I still need 3 black chips. So we got ourselves here a sword. We also have another green chip here. And we have another sword chip. This is really starting to add up. And then a double shield. So right off the hop here, this negative condition will go into the negative area here, which is going to affect our ability to make high attack values. But that's okay. We might be able to figure out some other things with all the chips we have available to us. I'm still going to go ahead and make use of my critical strike. It's going to require 2 sword chips, which I placed on the card. We're also going to use 2 AP to pay for it. So this attack's going to be modified by a +2, but remember, my base has been modified down by 1. So instead of it being a 3, it's at a 2. +2 is 4, and the defenses of the enemy, whichever one I choose, is only 2. So 2 damage coming through, and I'm going to choose to continue hitting slot number 1's soldier. This ends up working out pretty good because now we're going to be able to move it from 7 down to 5, so it's half its health from the start of the battle. I have 1 more AP remaining, 2 more chips to use, and I'm eyeing a couple different options here, but my basic attacks are not going to be all that great because just attacking at 2 with a defense of 2 on the enemy is going to be a wash of an attack, so I probably should just prepare and maybe activate one of my abilities to either help Gregory out or to help out Alek. I've used my double shield chip on Take Cover, and that's going to give me a +2 on my shield, which I've noted with a blue cube way up top. So that's going to be great for when the AI starts to come after us, at least for Gregory anyway. And then because I've chained into a second ability activating, I get to gain 1 AP for Gregory as well. At this point, I have a single sword left to spend, but as you can see, the only thing I could potentially work towards is parry, but I don't have 2 swords, which I need in order to activate it. Plus, I don't have the AP to pay for that anyway, so I think we're going to stop right here. All AP is going to be refreshed. I've gone ahead and just placed the green sword that I didn't use in the positive section over there just above my -1. And then the aggro token that's just off screen way up sitting on top of Gregory's picture, it's going to stay on him as he was the last to attack an enemy. And just so you're aware, Alek has also had his AP refreshed too, and we now move into enemy turns. We're starting in slot number 1, which is down below. It states on the card, choose target, self, so it's going to be targeting itself. Its ability is Humble Farmer. It's going to go ahead and use 2 AP to heal 3. The next one here is pretty vicious. It says, if another soldier is in battle, gain 1 on attack. So that is going to have this overall attack for this soldier go up from 3 to 4. So not only did it wash away a bunch of the damage that I threw on it, it's also getting a stronger attack at the end of things as well. That's going to be it for this enemy, and I'm pretty happy it's over right there. Let's go to slot 2. The target of this attack is going to be the one with the highest attack, so that will still be Gregory, and the attack target is going to be a disarming swipe, and it's going to be 2 AP, which will use all of its AP, a +2 attack modifier, so it's going to be a 5, but thankfully Gregory's up at 4 defense, so he only takes 1 damage, dropping him from 18 down to 17. Unfortunately, though, there's going to be another weakened red chip going into Gregory's bag. That's going to do it for the enemy's turn. Their AP is both refreshed. We move into the cleanup phase, and at this point, we're going to move into discarding chips off our characters. So as part of cleanup here, we're going to be taking the chips off of both of the ability cards that I have activated. So Take Cover and Critical Strike. Those chips will end up in the discard area over here. The green and red chip, the positive and negative, those are going to go back to the supply. And then we're going to take the gem sitting in the exhausted track down below on the right, move it over as it's cooled down, and is now in a ready slot, Roman numeral number 4. And we also don't want to forget to have both of the Take Cover and Critical Strike cards flipped over to the opposite side. There we go. Gregory's all set up. We'll do the same thing for Alek. Alek will also see his Speaking Stone come back to the ready side. All of the chips, purple and black, are going to go to the discard area. In this case, it's the first time we've had a purple chip on one of the active abilities, but it ends up going in your discard area right here, because it eventually will go back into your bag, and that's going to do it. Just like that, the character has been sorted, and we can now move into a brand new round of combat. At the start of the character's turn here, any evasion chips we have on them or blue cubes are removed, so the one for Gregory here for his shields and defense is gone. We're going to change things up this time around, and we're going to actually have Gregory go first. I'm going to try to set up a situation where we can weaken one of these soldiers and make it easier to make attacks against it on Gregory's turn, but as well as on Alek's turn. So Gregory has an ability called Feint on this card, which could come in handy. But first, let's go ahead and draw some chips. Now we get 4 chips right now, so let's see what we get, and hopefully we don't keep getting that weakened chip coming out, because that's unfortunate. We got 1 green one here, a sword. We have another sword here. We have another, wow, we are probably going to be pulling everything in this bag. We have a double sword here. And we have a, there's the weakened, unfortunately, was bound to come out just due to how many chips we were pulling in this particular draw, trying to find 4 black ones. We literally pulled every chip in the bag. The first thing I'm going to do right out of the gates is activate Parry for 2 swords using 2 AP. It allows me to gain evasion. This is really going to help me out with any attacks coming my way, which surely will happen. This evasion chip will go up where Gregory's artwork is to denote he has that now. And next up, I'm going to go ahead and use Feint. I'm going to need 1 sword, 1 shield, and pay 1 AP. This ability is going to add a break chip to one of the enemies, so I've gone ahead and placed it on the slot number 1 enemy as I want to continue to whittle down its health, although overall both of these enemies are at 8 right now, so it doesn't really matter too much which one I put it on. There's no advantage either way, but I do now get the chain effect down below on Feint, which allows me to attack an enemy. I don't get any modification to my attack, but my attack currently is going at a 2, but the defenses, thankfully, of the slot 1 soldier have been reduced from 2 down to 1, so 1 damage gets through. The soldier's been knocked down to 7 from 8, and I have decisions to make as I want to continue to attack it while it's weak. I'm going to use 2 swords as 1 shield on the guard card. I've also used my last AP. This states it's going to bump up my defenses by 1, so I'll be going from 2 to 3. I'll place a blue cube there to remind me. Next on the card, it says to add 1 green shield chip to Gregory's bag, and then below it, the chain is going to trigger because I have another active card, at least 1 other one, so the chain is ongoing. So I get to add another one in there for a total of 2 of these green shield chips going into his bag. Finally, with my 1 remaining sword chip, I'm going to go ahead and place that on my sword to do a regular attack at 3, -1 for this chip here, which is a 2 attack on 1 defense, thanks to the break on the slot number 1 soldier that I'm attacking right now. So 1 damage will get through, dropping it from 7 to 6. Not bad at all for Gregory. That's all he's got, but he has one more surprise. He's got his Speaking Stone back active again, and what better time to use it than right now? So he's going to go ahead and activate that, allowing him to do an attack on all enemies with a +1 modifier, which essentially gets wiped out because of the negative -1 here for weaken. So basically it's just a 3 going in, but a 3 against a 1 defense down here in slot number 1 is going to be 2 damage, dropping him from a 6 down to a 4, while the slot number 2 enemy still has 2 defense, so it's only be 1 damage there. We're getting closer and closer to taking out that slot 1 soldier, but close is not good enough. We need Alek now to step in and hopefully do enough damage to bring this guy down, but we'll see if he's able to pull it off. Beginning Alek's turn, we have 4 AP up there. We're going to draw 4 chips from the bag, but inside the bag, there's only 3 chips. So we have a choice to make right now. We can either choose to draw the 3 chips and play those, and that's all we get. So we miss out on drawing the 4th one, but that might be okay in some situations because you understand what's inside your bag, and there might be some positive things in there that you want to actually get out of that bag in this current round. But if you're trying to avoid a red chip that's been placed in your bag, you might want to go a different route, which is to pay 1 HP in order to place all of your black and purple chips in your discard area, like Alek's discard area down here, and put them back into the bag to hopefully push away the chances of seeing that red chip come up. So Gregory's a great example in terms of his weakened chip that he's seen a couple times. If I wanted to avoid that, and I knew it was in the bag, but it was in the last couple chips, I could take health damage in order to just get black chips back into the bag, purple chips back in the bag, to avoid or at least put off the potential chance of pulling that red chip. So there's strategy there in that. Now, in what's going on right now with Alek, he's got nothing red in the bag. So for me personally, I want to draw all 4 chips because I really want to be able to maximize his turn. So I'm going to go ahead and have him suffer 1 HP, dropping him from 11 down to 10. And we're going to go ahead and take all the black and purple chips, drop them back in the bag, and draw 4 up. All right, 4 chips coming out of the bag. First one here is a heart. Look at that. Things worked out. We're going to be able to bring our health from 10 back up to 11. Next one out of the bag is a shield. That's the first black chip that counts towards the total of 4. We have another shield. That's a second one. We then have a single sword. And finally, we have another shield. Alek has been brought back up to 11 health. We have some decisions to make, but I know I want to do some attacks here on that slot 1 soldier. I really want to get rid of these guys before they start using some of the abilities I've already seen come up on their AI cards that can get quite nasty. I'm going to go ahead and activate my Speaking Stone for Alek, which is going to allow me to attack 1 enemy for +1 attack modifier on the 2 that I already have. So it's going to be 3 attack, plus while it's active, it's going to boost the defenses of Alek as well. It ends up being a 3 attack up against a 1 defense, thanks to the break chip here, dropping defenses down to 1. So 2 damage going through, dropping from a 4 to a 2. Alek is next going to go and use his regular standard attack, which is 2, up against that slot 1 character's defense of 1 for 1 more damage, putting it so close to being defeated, but just missing out on knocking it out completely. At this point, we're just a bit shy from being able to activate 2 potions and then activate the combined ability to flip over and convert a potion to really give Alek even more. We're just a bit shy, and that's mainly because of what I tried to push by doing the attacks. I'm still okay with them because I really do want to remove one of these guards as quick as possible. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use a couple of these shield chips on different potions to take advantage of maybe some healing and some other effects. I'll use the Crimson Tonic in order to add 1 green health chip to Alek's or an ally's bag. I'm going to add it to Alek's bag because he is the one suffering from the most damage so far. Next, I'm going to use the Combine ability, and I'm going to use it to trigger an Empower effect of 1 card. I'm going to use the Empower effect off the Golden Potion, which allows me to place 1 green AP on Gregory. Finally, I'm going to use the blue elixir here. I've paid the AP for it. I can add 1 green sword or 1 green shield to Alek's or Gregory's bag. I've gone ahead and placed a sword inside of Alek's bag as I want him to have more swords. He has lots of shields. The final thing I'm going to do with Alek is I'm going to use his health potion, which will allow me to heal 5. I want to do this because Alek was the last person to attack an enemy, so he's going to get the aggro token, which could have attacks coming his way, so I want him to be ready. His health has jumped up to 16 after consuming the potion. Both of the characters have now had their AP refreshed, and Alek gets the aggro token. And now we see what kind of damage is coming our way, starting with the enemy's turn here, slot number 1. We have no blue cubes to get rid of, and no evasion chips on our enemies to get rid of. So let's go ahead, flip over the card, and find out. Now in this situation, it's pretty interesting. The choosing of the target comes down to who has the highest attack. Right now, Gregory has the weakened token on him, so his attack normally is 3, but it's down to 2, which is equal to Alek, so they're tied, which means it moves to aggro, and the aggro token is, or a chip, is on Alek. So Alek will be the target of this attack. It's a disarming swipe, which is unfortunate. 2 AP is going to be spent for this. It's going to be boosted by 2, so it's normal. Oh, and on top of it, it's at a 4 to start, so it's a 6 attack coming at Alek. It's a good thing that I raised up his defenses just a little bit, and also that I healed him up, because he's about to take 6 damage, minus 2 from defense, so 4 coming through, dropping him from 16 down to 12. Also, for the first time, a weakened chip is going to be placed in Alek's bag. I guess the good news from that equation is that that slot 1 soldier did not heal, because I was terrified that could happen, and it could have, or something else could happen, but there's still the possibility that this next AI card coming from slot 2 could have impacts here on the slot 1 enemy. So hopefully I still have the possibility of wiping out this soldier down below in the coming round. We'll see how it goes. Let's pull the card up top and see what happens. This time around, it states it's choosing its target based on the lowest defense, and defense right now for Gregory is at a 3, Alek is at a 2, so Alek again is going to be focused on here for this attack, which is really unfortunate because I had evasion on Gregory thinking I'd be able to avoid something nasty here, but this time everything is going Alek's way for the negative. So next up, it's going to be an attack target, Spear Lunge. It's going to use 1 AP. It's going to be a +1 attack modifier, so it's going to go from a 3 up to a 4, and again Alek has 2 defense, so 2 damage going through, dropping him from 12 down to 10. Alek is having a rough day so far. Next up, it says choose target self, so it's going to be targeting slot 2 itself, and it says if health is less than or equal to 5, draw 1 card. Well, thankfully this is not the individual we've been hammering, so this is the perfect card for what we've got set up right now, and things are looking good. The turn now ends for the enemies, and we can refresh both of their AP. That was super stressful, and I really thought something nasty was going to come out of the decks there, but it looks like we have an opportunity here to go after the slot 1 soldier and take it out before anything nasty happens. That could be a combination play between the two of them, and they do certainly have that. So we're moving into the cleanup phase right now. We're going to discard all chips from enemies and return them to the supply, except for any evasion chips they have at this point. So that red chip right now for break is going to be removed. For this hero, we're going to have the red and green chips returned back to the supply. Black chips are going to the discard. The gem, which is on the speaking stone, is going to go to the exhausted section on the far right of the track. As well as the 3 cards that we had active in the last turn here have all flipped over, so we now have Take Cover, Preparation, and Adjust Stance. Over here for Alek, we have 3 black chips that are going to go to his discard. The green heart will go back to the supply, and the gem on the speaking stone will go in the exhausted position. Starting off a brand new round of combat, we're going to start this time with Gregory. At the very beginning here, any evasion chips that are active on our characters are going to be removed, or any blue cubes. So we have blue cubes in defensive positions for both the characters. Those will both be removed, and the evasion on Gregory is going to be removed as well. Now, as you can see from that heaping pile in the discard there of chips, we don't have many chips in his bag right now. And I know, based on the chips I placed in there on his last turn, he's only got 2 green shield chips in there. And I don't want to just pull out 2 chips when I can pull up to 5 right now. So I'm going to go ahead and take 1 damage, dropping me down to 16, to place all of the discarded chips back in the bag before I start drawing. The HP has been paid. We're down to 16. I want to mention the fact that I missed taking the black chip off the Volk blade and placing it in the discard. There's no gameplay impact there. It's all in the bag now anyway. On Alek's side of the equation, though, I also missed taking the sword from his position, the chip, I should say, on his sword, and placing it in the discard. Don't worry, that has now been done as well. It's just sitting in his discard area. No gameplay impact whatsoever. Let's go ahead and draw 5 chips from the bag here and see what we get. Shuffling them up a little bit. We're starting off with a green shield, so that's pretty good because remember, it doesn't count against our 5 black quota here for chips. And we have a black sword. We next have a black sword again. We have a double sword. That's pretty awesome. A single, oh my gosh, look at all these swords, it's ridiculous. And then a green shield, and we're gonna continue on this train. Wow, that is quite the pull. Well, I can tell you what my main focus is gonna be right out of the gates, no matter what, and that is to take down the soldier that only has 1 HP remaining. It currently has 2 defense, but I can just do a basic attack. I don't even have to use anything else in order to pull off taking it out. So we'll go ahead and take a single sword, place it up here using the Volk blade to slash down the soldier at a 3 attack against 2 defense, 1 damage. That's enough to kill it, and the slot number 1 has been cleared. There will be rewards, but we still need to take out the other enemy that's here first. We can now focus our attention on the remaining soldier, and the good news is this is the one that didn't have that beef up to its attack value by default. It's the last one we just took out had that attack value at 4. This one only has attack value at 3 out of the gates, so that's super nice to have left over. We should be able to make quick work of this individual. We'll see how it goes. I got lots of chips to spend still. I'm going to go ahead and activate Adjust Stance first. This one's going to allow me to flip 1 non-active card. The card I'm going to flip is over to the critical strike side, and that's going to be really nice right now, as we're going to go ahead and activate it using 2 swords and 2 AP. This is going to throw 3 damage by default for Gregory, plus 2 from this critical strike is 5, minus 2 defense, 3 damage getting through, dropping this soldier from a 7 down to a 4. Gregory's going to go ahead, spend 1 AP and 1 shield chip in order to activate Take Cover. He gets a bonus plus 2 in defense, which I've done up top. And because it's chained, he's also going to gain 1 AP. Now, one thing I just missed, which I'm going to take advantage of right away, is I should have also gained the ability to draw 2 more chips from Gregory's bag when I initiated Critical Strike. So we're going to grab 2 chips first, and then I'm going to add an AP into the equation. Digging into the bag, we're going to draw 1 chip. We have a shield, and the next chip is a sword. The green AP has also been placed. We're all caught up, and what else do we want to do? Well, we could go ahead and activate Preparation. This will cost 2 AP, a sword, and a shield. Preparation is going to give Gregory 1 strengthen token, which is pretty awesome. And then on top of it, because it's chained, another strengthen token. So both of these are going to go into the bag. At this point, Gregory has exhausted all of his options. He's activated every single ability that he has, including his sword. He has 1 AP left and a couple of chips, but he's not going to be able to do much with any of them. So the rest of the chips that are not being used right now are just going to go to the discard. Now, looking over at Alek as he begins his turn, we remember we had a weakened chip go into the bag. I don't have a ton of chips in there. I might have 5 or 6, and I know one of them's a weakened. I don't really want to see that thing come out of the bag when I'm drawing 4 black chips. It's likely to get pulled here, so to increase the chances that it doesn't get pulled, I'm going to go ahead and take 1 damage right now to bring the black discarded chips that I have in his play area there into the bag and hope we don't see it. One of the reasons for doing this as well is I don't want to give any kind of advantage to the enemy. I want to be able to put as much damage on this enemy as quick as possible before it has a chance to do it back to us. So I think this makes a lot of sense. Everything's back in the bag here. We're going to go ahead and draw out 4, and they have to be black chips. So we have 1 sword here. We have a double shield. That's nice. We have a health. There you go. We get paid back for doing this. We get, the weakened chip came out in the end anyway. That's unfortunate. We have a black shield here, and we have another black shield. Just so you're aware, my health is now back up to 10 for Alek, and we do have that weakened condition, which is unfortunate. Now, right now, if I was to do an attack, my attack would be at 1 against a 2 defense, so it won't do any damage. So I'm not in a position with Alek at all to be putting any damage that's going to get through at this point in time. So we're going to have to change up our strategy here. So what we're going to do is maybe focus on activating some potions and potentially combining one that is able to be flipped over and create something brand new to use. I'm going to activate the elixir here for 1 AP and 1 shield. I get to add either a sword or a shield into my bag or Gregory's bag. I'm going to choose to actually put a sword, a green sword, into Alek's bag. Next up, I'm going to go ahead and activate the golden potion for 1 sword, 1 shield, 1 AP. I get to gain 1 AP, which I'll take right now. That AP has been placed just off camera. I then used an AP as well as a double shield to use my combine ability here. We're going to go ahead, because 2 potions are active. We have the elixir and the potion. We're going to now flip a non-active potion card over, and I'm going to flip over the Crimson Tonic. The Emerald Poison is a pretty awesome potion. You'll see here it would add 2 potions to an enemy, and then if I chose to use the combined ability and use the Empower on the bottom of it later on, enemies with a potion chip are going to lose 3 health. That's pretty aggressive and pretty awesome. We're now done with our character's turn, and so at this moment the aggro token is going to change from Alek over to Gregory, as he's the only one that actually put damage on an individual during that last round, and then also all of the AP for both characters has been refreshed. We now head into the enemy's turn. Blue cubes for the enemy or any evasion chips will come off. There is none, so at this point we're just drawing a card to find out what happens next. The AI card that came up lets us know it's going after the highest attack, which is Gregory in this case. He's got a 3 over Alek 2, and it's going to be a disarming swipe, so 2 AP spent by the soldier, and it's a 2 modification to the base 3, so it's going to be 5 coming at Gregory. Gregory thankfully took cover in his turn, bringing him up to 4 defense, so only 1 damage getting through, knocking him from 16 down to 15, but he'll also take a weakened red chip into his bag. The enemy's AP is refreshed at the end of its turn, and we're now going to go ahead and move into the cleanup phase. So we're going to discard any chips from the enemies, return them to the supply, except for any evasion chips they might have, and now we go to cleaning up each of the characters as per normal. Gregory is all set. His cards that were active, which was literally every one that he had, are all flipped over. So now he has Guard, Feint, Advance, and Parry available to him coming up. His Speaking Stone has cooled down and come back and been made available again as well. Alek's board has also been cleaned up, so a bunch of things thrown into the discard, clean up of positive and negative chips, as well as his Speaking Stone coming back available again. Beginning a brand new round here, I'm going to start with Gregory right off the hop. We are going to remove his blue cube that's up top for defense. Similar to what we did before with Alek, I don't want to see the weakened chip come back through again as I'm trying to hammer away at this soldier, so I'm going to pay 1 HP to bring all of the black chips that I have in my discard into the bag. Now the odds are probably not good for me anyway, because now I have 6 AP, which is pretty ridiculously high. So I'm probably going to be pulling a lot of chips, which means I'm probably going to see that weakened chip anyway. Here we go. So, oh my gosh, right out of the gates, we got the weakened. Look at that. Couldn't even avoid it. And then we have a double shield. We have another shield. We have a sword. We have another sword. Another sword, and finally a shield. Well, if you can't get past somebody with a high attack value because you keep getting weakened, like poor Gregory does, I can try to use his feint ability to weaken my enemy's defenses, which will balance things out a little bit more in my favor. So let's work our way up to doing that. First off, I'm going to go ahead and actually activate parry down below for 2 swords, 2 AP, which will gain me evasion. With that now in place, I'm going to use feint for 1 sword, 1 shield, and 1 AP, which is going to then allow me to place a break token on the soldier, and because it's a chained ability that's going to trigger, I'm going to be able to attack the enemy. This attack that's coming forward is just going to be a regular attack at my 3-1, so it's going to be 2, but thankfully defenses of the enemy have been dropped down to 1, so 1 damage gets through. Not the greatest hit, but hey, I'll still take them while I can get them. So next up here, I'm going to try and use my cross/speaking stone in order to really up my attack value overall. This will allow me to attack all enemies at a +1, so that negates this weakened over here for 1 attack. So I get to go at this enemy for 3 with its defenses down to 1, which means 2 damage. And with the soldier exactly where I want him, I'm going to go ahead and use a double shield on my Volk Blade to finish him off. That's a 2 attack against 1 defense, which is the 1 hit we need to take down the final soldier. Both of them have been defeated by Gregory and Alek. That was awesome, and with both of our characters we were able to take down both of these golden soldiers. Let's now go ahead, flip them over, and find out what rewards we gain from them. Not bad at all. We got ourselves 6 Lux for each of them for a total of 12 and 20 Sil. Our Lux currently sits at 0 and our Sil currently sits at 12. We're going to uptick those right now. And just like that, our party has reaped the rewards of battle. Now let's head back into the Forteller app to continue the narrative after our victory.
The 2 soldiers lie on the ground, broken spears in hand.
What do you think, Alek? Tie them up and leave them here?
My thoughts exactly.
One of the soldiers manages to rise to a kneeling position.
What? You're not going to kill us?
Why would we do that? You attacked us.
We didn't attack you. We are questioning everyone who goes through here.
Questioning them with spears?
Yes, we're at war. Broken Plow filth have been burning our fields, poisoning our water. We asked the mayor to send the guard, but he won't do anything. And so we are forced to defend ourselves.
After considering the man's words, you extend your hand and help him to his feet.
I'm Gregory, and this is Alek. And what is your name?
Andre.
He answers before helping the other man to his feet.
And this is Oni.
Pleasure,
Replies Oni, while simultaneously dusting himself off.
I'm sorry we had this misunderstanding. Perhaps we can make it up to you by speaking to the mayor on your behalf.
Well, I don't know why he'd pay you any mind, but be my guest.
And that's going to end this video for the Isofarian Guard from Sky Kingdom Games. Really hope this video helps you make an informed decision on it. And also, for those individuals interested, late backing is available up until the end of this month. And then the base game price is expected to go to $120. So hopefully that's useful information for you, as well as this video in helping you make that choice. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know in the comments below what you enjoyed and what your thoughts are on this one. And as always, keep on rolling solo.